right, our episode of PaPolichicks is sponsored by the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 21. They represent glazers, drywallers, and painters. Well, welcome back to our latest edition of PaPolichicks. I'm Flora Pastorero.
I'm Nell McCormack-Abom, and I'm going to need those painters and plasterers. We're having work done at the house. This is going to be so exciting.
I know where you can find some good help.
I need a good painter.
Well,
There's
I
gotta
know
be
the
one
place.
There
Absolutely. All right, PaPolichicks, this is the show where we'll talk about everything and anything. We're not afraid to cover any topic, everything from politics to potty training. It's all on the table.
And we're not afraid to be called chicks because we feel very hip, even though we are in our advancing years of life.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Speak for myself, right? And we're matching today.
Yes, we are.
We're in
We're
orange.
both in orange. Is there some significance to that?
Well, it's a bright and cheery note. And when we're talking about things like paying for college, you have to find any way you can to be positive and chipper and orange and glowing, right? We're putting on
And
our
to
happy
brighten
face.
up your mood.
Because I have two in college
Yes, you
right
do.
now. I have a third one who's a senior in high school. This is a very real conversation for me. And I know, Flora, you have one as well
You're
in college.
broke, aren't you?
We are.
You're just broke.
You know,
Let's
when they
just cut to the
wait,
point.
They used to say we were house poor. Now we say we're college poor.
You're college poor. Well,
College
I
poor.
only have one in college, but I feel like I have six. So I know how you feel. And this is a very tough decision. It's a very difficult thing that parents are dealing with right now. First of all, is your child ready for college? How do you find the right college for your child? And is college really the right fit for your child?
Hard questions
Yes.
and hard conversations that you have to have. You can delay it as long as possible, but by the time they hit that senior year, I can tell you from experience, you really want to spend the junior year summer having all of those arguments. Get those fights out, because once September rolls around,
Oh boy,
that ball is
full
rolling.
throttle, isn't it? All right, our guest on our podcast today is Dan Ray. He is with PHEAA, which is short for Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistant Agency. Hi, Dan.
Hello. Thanks for having me on the program.
All right, we love having you here. Dan, talk to us about what you do at PHEAA and why it's critical to have these conversations and get them started soon.
Yeah, I work in public affairs with PHEAA. We're primarily the outreach arm, and the team that I'm on is out there constantly in the public eye. We are at high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, with community agencies, with legislators, anything we can do to help help students find that passion in their life and the right school, and do it all affordably. We want to make higher education affordable.
Well, that's the big question. How do you make it affordable? And there are a couple of figures here that I just wanted to go over. 70% of students have a significant amount of college loan debt. The average student owes about $40,000 in loans. That's a $20,000 increase from a decade ago. Coming out of school with $40,000 in loans, that is not something
daunting.
anyone at PHEAA really
Daunting.
recommends, right, for an undergraduate degree?
Right, exactly. I mean, one of the things that we try to convey to families, for many, many years, folks just simply said to students, don't borrow too much to get your education, knowing that a lot of students do have to borrow. But nobody ever quantified it really for students. And one of the rules of thumb that we have landed with here is, first time I saw it was through NEFI, the National Endowment for Financial Education. And the rule of thumb is that students shouldn't borrow more to get their education than what they plan on making their first year in the workforce. That
So
keeps your student loan payment within
Wow.
reason.
Let that sink in for a minute.
That's sobering
That's-
if you think about that.
Because I'm not in any way denigrating liberal arts, but if you come out of a liberal arts school, what's the average salary right now just for an undergraduate degree in a liberal arts field? 30,000? I don't know. I'm just curious what you think it is, Dan.
Right. Yeah. I saw a slide from UT Dallas not that long ago, and it was in the 30 to 40,000 range.
Okay.
So I want you to say that again, because I think that was really, really important. The point that you made, you should not borrow more than your first year's salary.
Right. And I'm going to put a corollary on there too, for parents. Parents, please don't borrow more to help your kids get their education than what you make right now.
Ah, so there's twofold here. Two different conversations that we're having here. What the child should borrow and what the parent should borrow.
Right, because the borrowing vehicles are out there, and we do need to keep a close eye on the borrowing levels, because those rules of thumb, what they do is they keep your student or parent loan payment under 12% of your gross pay, which means you'll have enough money left over for your other bills.
Okay, so how do you rein these kids in? And I'm going to use my own child as an example, and you can bring in your kids. My crazy kid, let's see here, he wanted to go to college in Florida. He wanted to go to California. He wanted to get as far away as possible, and he had one thing on his mind, the beach. And I flat out said to him, I'm not paying for you to go on vacation for 4 years. That's what you can do after you graduate and you get a job. I'm the tough mom, but I think there are a lot of parents out there who think, I want Johnny and Susie to be happy, so I'm going to pay for them to go to the beach. I'm not that mom.
No, it's true.
Right, yeah. And I wasn't that daddy either. My wife and I helped to put 5 kids through college,
Oh,
and
my.
we have 9 grandkids coming up through the ranks right now.
Oh, wow. Well, Dan, I thought the paradigm used to be that you would say to your children, go all out, go for the highest school you can get into. Don't worry about the cost. We'll figure it out. But since the Great Recession, and we've been through this just tremendous financial tumult, and people are still just recovering from it, has the paradigm shifted to now it is, let's look at what you're going to make in that career, what your degree is going to be in. Can you practically get a job in today's job market with that skill that you're coming out of college with? Is that a more realistic conversation that more and more parents are starting to have with their kids?
Definitely. The paradigm has shifted. The days of sort of wandering off to a college somewhere and trying to figure out the finances later, those days really are over. We've had a major change out there in the marketplace. And for my grandkids coming up through, we're going to just make sure we take advantage of all the awesome online tools that now exist that I wish had existed when my kids were going through this. I would be going with my grandkids a 3-step approach. Number one, help them find that passion, either through job shadowing, volunteering, self-assessments, looking at career videos. The educationplanner.org website has got all of these tools on there. So find that passion, find that career. And then also on the same website is a search for your perfect school function. You can plug in there any criteria, your major, location, whether it's near a beach or whatever. You can plug in all of your criteria there, and it'll show you all the colleges that meet your criteria. And then there's another awesome tool out there that's been out since 2011, which is a net price calculator. Pretty much every school in the nation is going to have out there on their website somewhere a net price calculator to help you figure out what your price is going to be at that school. Not just the sticker price, but what your net price. That's the most crucial thing. Your net price. What's that going to be?
Well, not to single out a school, I'll just say it's in the state of Tennessee. It's a private school. My son just got something in the mail from them. We want you. And the sticker price was $71,000.
Oh.
I kid you not.
Oh.
$71,000.
Yes.
Yikes.
And I said, you may want him, but his mama does not want to send
think
him
I
there
just had a
for
heart
that,
attack.
that sticker.
Listen, and yeah, that's a big number that can set you back on your heels. But what I see happen quite often, actually, with some students is that it turns out that high sticker price school turns out to be maybe one of the lowest net price schools. That happened with several of my kids. My oldest son went to one of those $70,000 per year school, but the net price was actually cheaper than any of the other 7 schools that we looked at, some of which were state-owned schools.
And is that because of the financial aid they may have qualified for, or the grants
Right.
or academic scholarships that your kids were awarded?
Right. Yeah. Some, scholarships come in all kinds of different flavors. They can be because of ethnicity, because of academics, because of sports. But the key is finding that school that really wants you as much as you want them, and that provides the funding. These days, really, with tuition and fees and room and board where they are, and with federal grants and state grants kind of treading water or trying to tread water, scholarships are really the hedge against excessive borrowing. How
do you find them? Where do you send people? What have you found are the best websites to find those scholarships?
We go from a multi-pronged approach there. I have long scholarship conversations with students and parents. I advise them to make it their new hobby, 15 minutes a day, an hour every weekend. And starting, maybe a great place is high school guidance office. Start local, work out to regional, and then there are some good national scholarship sites out there like fastweb.com. If you go to our website, educationplanner.org, and you search for scholarships, you're going to end up on fastweb.com. You plug in a lot of your information, it'll tell you some scholarships that you might be able to qualify for. It really needs to be a project that a student and the parents take on and make it a regular habit until you graduate. Don't stop hunting for scholarships until you graduate with the degree that you want. It's got to be something ongoing, because those scholarships are going to be your hedge against excessive borrowing. There's just no other way right now.
Something else that I noticed that I'm hearing from kids, and I just find it to be so disturbing. I spoke with a young lady, and she took out a higher loan than what the tuition and the room and board. And I said, well, what are you doing? And she said, well, I took out extra money because I want to have money, for pizza and to go to the movies and to do this and to do that. And they're taking out more money in a loan than what the college and the tuition room and board is for. And how do you get kids to understand you have to pay that back?
You do.
That pizza that you just spent $10, once you pay the interest, it might go to $20 or $30.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you get them to stop doing that? And how do you get them to understand this is not free?
Right. And when the schools are calculating that loan eligibility, they are allowed to factor in their miscellaneous costs, including books and living expenses, laundry, haircuts, and that sort of thing. And so, the borrowing can end up exceeding tuition fees, room and board. And that is one of our challenges, getting that message across, because, we regularly speak with current college students who don't know their loan balance. It's very easy to get out there and borrow these loans. It's a pretty quick process, and it's quite easy for them to lose track of their current loan balance and what that means in terms of monthly payment.
You're exactly right, because I know my daughter and my son both have loans out, and I said to them, did you look, by the way, at what they were offering you in your next year? So one's a sophomore, one's a senior, what they're offering you with the loan. Because you know what? The loan companies, they really want to maximize the amount you're taking out. And I said, let's take a look at that. Oh, I didn't look at that. Well, then once you look at it, you dial it back, because I'm very much cognizant. I don't want them to come out of college with too much debt. I wanted to ask you, though, too, Dan, what do you say about the hard conversations that you might have to have with your kids that maybe college isn't for all of them? Everybody doesn't have to go to a 4-year private or public university. There are other options and other opportunities to pay for those other options.
Right, tremendous options out there, and that is one of the first conversations that I have with families is exactly what. Let's start with that career. What is that career that we want? Where is our passion there? Because there are so many apprenticeships out there. You've got some great 1-year programs, great 2-year programs. We have career and technology centers around here that get people started very quickly into high-paying jobs. So we like to have that conversation as soon as possible before somebody goes and leaps into maybe a 4-year school where eventually they're going to drop out and then go find the right school after they've already borrowed.
And I think to emphasize that point, we need to raise this issue that only 55% of the kids who enter college actually graduate from college. The other 45% that either dropped out, left, whatever, decided college wasn't right for them, they left and they still have to pay back all that money and they have nothing to show for it. So it's okay if college is not right for you. It's okay. And it's okay to have that conversation. And it's okay to emphasize with our kids that, maybe college isn't the right fit. There are plenty of high-paying jobs out there where you don't need a college education. Dan, if people want more information from PHEAA and all of these programs, is there a website that you can direct people to?
Yeah, I start out with educationplanner.org. That's where I spend an awful lot of time with elementary, middle, and high school students, as well as current college students. Also, mysmartborrowing.org is a great place to go and check out average financial aid packages, as well as average starting salaries in the workplace. So educationplanner.org and mysmartborrowing.org, great places to start.
And of course, PHEAA, your website, which is?
Yes, PHEAA.org. And you can link out to all those other sites from there, too.
We're very blessed to have PHEAA.
Plenty of resources. I hope
Commonwealth of
families are
Pennsylvania.
taking advantage of these web resources, because you can do more research in a couple of minutes now than what you could do in weeks before.
Let your fingers and your mouse do the walking.
I like that. Instead
Please.
of your legs. I like that.
That's right.
Hey, Dan, thank you so much for being on our podcast. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, my pleasure.
Great information. Thank you. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of PaPolichicks. We want to hear from you. What do you think? Did you have any questions? Do you have any topics you want us to explore? Again, we will talk about everything and anything. Just send us an email to the address
PaPolichicks at PennWatch.org. It's a lot of P's in there, but it's PaPolichicks at PennWatch.org. We're waiting to hear from you. I'm Nell McCormack-Abom.
I'm Flora Pastorero. Thanks for listening to us.